All right. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning, Scott. Looks like we're live.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Been a few weeks. You had
Yeah.
some personal vacation time. Good for you.
Well, vacation is a funny thing, right? It's like I like to think that you and I are ditch diggers, right? We'll just keep going every day until somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey, you're taking me on a vacation
Yeah,
someplace,"
yeah.
right? Then all of a sudden we go, "Well, okay, right? Happy wife, happy life," right? That's kind of what we do. So yeah, we spent a week down in Costa Rica, which was nice, right? It was nice, kind of that tropical climate down there, and strange animals, right? Iguanas on the beach with you down there, and howler monkeys and spider monkeys all over, and strange birds, and it was kind of cool, right? Kind of
No,
cool,
I've
something
never
different.
been there. I've always heard great things. So good spot to go to,
Yeah.
and probably not too long of a flight, right?
No, it was like we went through Atlanta, right? I think it was like an hour 15 to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta it was like I seem to think to Liberia was 3.5 hours, I think.
You say Liberia, and it's like that throws me off, but
Yeah.
it's like wrong direction.
So, and then from there you get a kind of a shuttle to the resort area that we went was about 45 minutes or something like that.
I used to do a lot of travel. I haven't really
Like you
since
and
moving out
me
here.
and many of our members, right? Traveled the
Well,
world, right?
well, yeah, I traveled the world in the military, but I would just um pick a spot on a weekend. I'd like one year it was like Christmas, and I didn't have anything going on, so I just bought a flight the next day to Thailand.
Why not?
And yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I go there, or I went down to Brazil for the World Cup.
Sure.
And I've motorcycled around Vietnam. I've done some stuff like that, but it's been a while, so I kind of miss. When you said you're going to Costa Rica, I was like, oh man, I haven't done one of those kind of trips. We just go off the beaten path a little bit. So
Yeah, it is a little bit off the beaten path, right? It's kind of exciting.
when you get to see monkeys and iguanas, I mean, it's different. It's yeah, maybe you're in a resort, we got it,
Yeah,
but
that was good, good. Well,
it's
how have you been, man? It has been a couple of weeks, right? You've been busy.
yeah. I
Few
mean,
new tools. You're still working on, right? Some exciting things for your members, right?
yes, sir. I mean, anytime, well, whenever you know this, whenever you're trying to, update your services and offerings, and
Yeah,
ultimately what we're trying to do is, help people make, various decisions at military retirement better. Oh, our pop up worked. So BC there, Roasta Kiko, awesome. So
yeah,
there's a new feature where the I don't know why it's so small, but the comments will just pop up
sure.
automatically.
I
But
like it. Yeah,
no, well, cool. Well, thanks for joining us. But yeah, I try to put a lot of time in, whether it's writing a book or redoing the
right,
website, or
right.
now this opportunity to build out some actual software. Um, we've I keep on finding a new way to improve it, which is probably not the best way to do it. I probably should just launch it out there, but
No, I
I'm
think
getting
it's pretty exciting, right? I mean, I'm trying to think now, Scott. It's been a few weeks, right, where you walked me through it, right? We had a session, and
right.
for the members that are listening in or will watch this in the near future, right? It is really, I thought, an exciting tool to help members understand and navigate survivor benefit plan, right? And what options comparatively look like against other options. I know I'm doing a horrible job explaining that tool, but the graphics and the way it walks you and members through that, I thought was really helpful, right? And so
Yeah,
uh,
I appreciate
if
it,
you're
Mike.
if you're stepping into that decision, don't approach it like I did, right? I mean, I've shared my story with you a number of times, right? It was just, I think it was on the back half of tap, and somebody walked in, and it was this fear mongering pitch. Hey, you got to do this thing, and it was just, and if you opt out, you got to have your wife sign this thing. And it was just this very, and I would love to tell all your members and all of our members that I stepped away from it, because I made an informed decision, but I did not. It was an emotional decision for me. I didn't appreciate the fear mongering, and so I stepped back from it. And that's a horrible way to approach this. And you've built a tool, and you have a process, and I thought it was very helpful. So again, just my 2 cents on it, Scott. I thought you've done some really good work here. So
Yeah, no, I appreciate it because ultimately I'm taking everything I've learned, from working with you and the Blue Water members that, everybody comes into, their military retirement at a different time frame,
right.
with different expectations,
Hmm.
and they show up with their briefs and they're just getting a ton of information. Like I talked to somebody recently, they don't even remember having the SPP conversation to the retirement brief. It's just,
Yeah.
for some people it's going to be relevant. Well, it's relevant to everybody, but
Every
it's
yeah.
whether it's going to click or not. And the one thing we say is there's no right or wrong answer. You got to make your own decision, but you want to feel where you're most informed. And so that's what we're trying to do here. A lot of people focus on the calculations, and that's fine. And of
Mhm.
course, it's about the numbers. But getting educated on the actual decisions and understanding that if you don't like the SBP or other standard insurance or investment
Yeah.
options, what else can
And
I do with what
what
else
other
can I do with my money?
yeah. No.
So
You do a
that's
good job with that. I thought the tool was really intuitive. It helped out.
Yeah, that's what we do here. It's a way to you put in your data and then it walks you through a program to kind of learn about the various things
Yeah.
that are important and, look at the various calculations. But then what I've also been building out are some other platforms where if you're looking at our alternative, you can build out your own version of it and then kind of thinking of a cash flow planner where
Wow.
we're designing all right, how much money, if I got I got an '06 scenario here,
Right.
what am I, what am I currently doing? What's my income going to look like after the military? And kind
Right.
of realizing, it's going to look pretty good. People
Right.
are often making, multiple six figures now. And yeah,
Sure.
while taxes will be higher,
Yeah,
a
that
lot
is
of
for sure.
times that means there's extra cash flow, but you're a little bit older, what do you want to do with that? And so we
Right.
walk through some options there. So still looking for beta testers after the last time we went through this. Had a number of people reach out and walk through a few.
Okay.
So if people do want to beta test this, and I'm about ready to send out the actual link, and then they can kind of go through it on their own, or they can schedule a call with me directly.
Yeah, I would. If for individuals that are listening, look, it just takes a few minutes. I would highly recommend having Scott walk you through the tool and have that be your on ramp to use of the tool, right? If that makes sense, and then you're cleared weird, go off, build whatever you want on your own. But Scott, I thought the time with you was invaluable, right? As you walked me through it, and that's been a number of years
Cool.
since I even stepped through that decision, and that's history in my life. But I can absolutely see the value, right? And guys, spending a few minutes with you and having you walk them through the utility of the tool. So I thought it was nice work, dude. You did a good job with it.
No, I appreciate it. And then the other thing we're working on is the website for this podcast. Every
Yeah.
episode that Mike and I have done, my wife's
How
building
many
this
have we
out.
done now? Do you know off the top of your head? Like what?
I used to put numbers on it.
Have we stopped counting now? Is that
Y-
what it is?
yeah, no, but we're definitely we're about at episode 40, I think.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So we've got 40 different episodes of talking about everything from how to set. We went through a whole series of LinkedIn,
Yeah.
various aspects of all things military
We
transition.
talk about everything, right? Like resume specifics or negotiating compensation or
Yeah.
survivor benefit plan or other options, right? I mean, it's a full spectrum of those things. And sometimes we get a little bit off topic, right? Talking about vacations and things like that. But most of the time there's a gem or two that you can pull out of it.
We're not professional
Yeah.
media, entities here. We're just, I mean, to the audience,
Yeah.
what's the purpose of this show? One, it's a chance for Mike and I to catch up, every week or two,
Yeah.
and see what we've got going on. And Mike's got a big audience of his Blue Water members that want to stay in touch as
Mm.
well. He's got now nearly 500 members. He's only got so much time, right? So this is a way for him to communicate with his existing members and potential members. And then, I've worked with hundreds of retirees over the years, and a lot of people watch my YouTube channel for various videos. So this is a way for those people to also kind of get to know us better and also introduce them to the Blue Water Network and the
Yeah.
insights that Mike brings from the senior leader transition. Love to help all veterans, and obviously a lot of the stuff we talk about will be useful for any veteran getting out of the military. But what we found is that the senior leaders, 05, 06, E9, sometimes in the flag officer rank, the military transition process is a little bit too cookie cutter for the unique situation that they're going to find themselves in. They're often in their late 40s, early 50s. It's a different type of career transition. A lot of the programs out there, a lot of the veteran nonprofits that help with transition just aren't aligned for their uniqueness of their situation. But they got to write their own resume. They got to do their own job interviews now. And they've had years of probably having assistants or people doing stuff for them. So Mike does a great job at hand-holding them through that process.
It is a good segue, Scott, just again for you and I to reinforce to the audience, right? I mean, and the way I say it is, there is no shortage of organizations that are out in the the ocean of goodwill. That I coined that term. I should I get credit for that. It's the ocean of goodwill, and it's full of organizations out there that claim to be the answer to what veterans need in their transition.
Mm-hmm.
But within that ocean of goodwill, there are very few organizations. In fact, the majority of them all are lining up telling you what you need to do. Now, just hang with me on the language. And think about it. Anybody can tell you what they think you should do. You need zero credibility, zero bona fides, zero anything. I'm just going to tell you what I think you should do. And there's very few organizations out there that can tell you how to do it and why you're going to do it a specific way. That's the credibility part. And that's what we guard so closely, right? I'm going to tell you how to do these things. And then more importantly, why you're approaching it this way, right? All of our instructors, right? Steve Weeman, Dave Wadelick, new individual now, Jimmy Phillips, right? Army background guy. You need to talk to him. Oh, by the way, that's a quick segue there.
Yeah.
A financial background kind of guy, local here in Virginia Beach. So, but they've all been hiring managers. They've all been senior leaders, not only in uniform, but out of uniform. And now they're bringing that message of how and why back to our audience. And we tell our members all the time, hey, you don't have to take our advice. You're not going to hurt our feelings. But you'll never be able to dispute the credibility of the message because we've lived it, Scott, right? That is the credibility that we owe our members. We're bringing back that level of insight. There's how to do these things and why you're doing it this way. Yeah. And that's so important to us.
It sounds like you had a success story.
Yeah. So what's the pop-up here? It says,
Mike had success negotiating. Took some tips from you in a previous episode, it sounds like. So,
Michael, congratulations! That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah,
we appreciate you sharing your success story.
Absolutely,
because we realize not everybody's popping on live. When we're going. So reach out to us. Let us know if you're having success. And great. Awesome, man.
Oh, that's great.
And that way you get to stay over in Italy. That's great.
Michael, you've got to reach out. We'd love to get you on the, registered on the Blue Water Digital platform, just so we can kind of maintain this network. SIG, Italy, Naples, that area. Blue Water's been very, very close to conducting cohorts in that area, right? We were working with Sixth Fleet on a number of occasions, to come over and execute, a career progression cohort, which there are so many members in the region there, all the way from, Spain, all the way through Italy and Greece, right? There's a bunch of forces scattered around there, but we were going to pull them all in and do a career progression cohort. And I would still be completely open to that. We've just got to find a command who is willing to, to work that. But anyway, yeah, Germany's another one. How about that, right?
If you're going to go to Italy, might as well. Because I was in
as well.
Stuttgart.
Yeah, I was in Gallenkirchen, right, with where I did my NATO tour over there. Yeah,
so ich vermisse, oh gosh, ich vergesse meine Deutsch.
Oh, the only thing I remember in Germany is I used to tell the crew on the AWACS I was flying with is like, ich haben keine Ahnung. I have no clue. I remember how to say that in German, right? So they would always ask me these questions. I'm going, I have no clue. What are you talking about?
Where is Ausfahrt?
Yeah.
You remember that joke?
But anyway, that's what we stress really hard, Scott, right? It's that credibility side of this, right? And that's what we bring to the table. I think that's a big differentiator. So
anyway, what I've seen from what you're bringing to the table, obviously the credibility part of it from a lot of people that have been there, but it's the the oh my gosh, where do I start? Where do I begin?
Yeah.
What's my timeline look like? How soon do I do this, that? And, it's helpful to have somebody to talk to. And you can always go to your buddy who just retired the year before or whatever, but they only have a narrow experience where.
Well, you roll the dice, right? Yeah. You really, it could be a great, just invaluable connection, or you could be hitching your wagon to somebody who, and again, I don't want to be disparaging to anybody's approach, but maybe they just got lucky, and now you're gonna buy into that, right? And
it same goes with things like the survivor benefit plan decision.
Sure.
Just asking the other people in the office, like your situation is unique, your health is different, your finances are different, and chances are you haven't shared all that amongst each other. When your timing's different. That kind of stuff. So, but I think that leads to kind of what you wanted to talk about today, Mike, is just we're in a changing, economic environment, the geopolitical environment.
Yeah.
Everything from AI to, administration change to the various chances of going back into more aggressive, visits to other countries. So, what are you seeing in the the senior leader transition and job hunting landscape? How is it changing for folks, or what do you share on that?
That's a great broad spectrum question, Scott. Thanks for asking it. Right, but just for some of the listeners out there, we do have a membership, and the first thing I would tell you is it not amazing? Like at this discussion, Scott, Blue Water, we are booked solid. I don't have an open seat between now and the start of 2026, right? We're completely full up through December, our last cohort. We post these cohorts, we open them in advance. And, our membership is so finding success with this approach. And I like to say, hey, we remove the fog of war. You step into the Blue Water family, here is your instant network of other senior leaders who look just like you, but you've got visibility. You know exactly what they pursued. You have, the companies, the industries that they pursued. They've provided their landing reports, feedback here. We have offers. We know what those companies extended to those individuals as offers. We know what our members negotiated. And then we know what they were successful in moving the needle on. And then we've got the analytical data all behind this, right? Case in point, right? I mean, from the time that members come to us and they complete what we call their career progression design and jump into their market analysis and they narrow their scope on what they want to pursue, that's day one. How long does it take them to get a signed offer letter? It's 129 days. And you're like, Mike, that seems kind of like a specific number. And I go, hey, I didn't make this up, right? 500 people who have navigated the process. On average, it takes them 129 days. Standard deviation, 1 or 2 either side of that. Some a little quicker, some a little bit longer, but right, the average is 129 days. Now, of late, we watch where our members go, and we kind of get a feel for this. I will tell you, the first 4 or 5 months of the year, it was very obvious to us, living vicariously through our members' experiences, that big defense, like, think Boeing, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, think Raytheon, think even Booz Allen to a certain degree. A lot of those companies were slowing down their onboarding of new people. And data and analytics are a strange thing. We can see changes in data, but the interesting discussion is stepping back and looking at it and go, man, I wonder why that's happening, right? And I think, having conversations with a lot of members who are in those companies, that they were just watching this new administration come in, and they were just waiting they're going, all right, no fast hands in the cockpit, right? Let's just take a step back and watch this. Where's this going? And I think we saw that early on. A lot of companies that were slowing pursuit of new talent, right? If that makes sense. Now, there were companies, like some of our corporate partners, like Tech Air and Two Circle, it didn't seem to slow down. They were still pulling on talent. Mantech, we're very excited about building a greater relationship with Mantech. And there's a couple of others out there that we're working hard to align closer with. And our corporate partners, right, we hold them very, very near and dear to our heart, right? They are absolutely key to our ability to grow and scale. But at the same time, our members, and we're very transparent, like, Mike, why do these companies, why do they align with you? Why are they supportive of Blue Water? And first off, I tell you, we try to align with companies that share our vision to take care of senior leader veterans, right? And these companies that we align with, first and foremost, they're dedicated to that as well too. They're great companies, and they believe, in the veteran talent pool, right? That we support, that is the Blue Water membership, right? And then next, it's a steady pipeline, right? They get to meet new people, and it kind of makes sense where our members are excited about pursuing a company like that to find their next success. The company is excited about the skill set, and it's a match kind of made in heaven, right? And so we just connect those dots and let good things happen. So we're excited to build new corporate partner relationships to help us continue to grow and scale. But yeah, we have seen a little bit of that, Scott, some of the slowdown. Now, I am happy to say, really, just over the last month, in fact, Steve Weeman and I were talking, and Booz Allen is kind of a leading indicator. They're starting to kind of come back up out of this, pause, if you will. And there's some movement now, right? We're seeing conversations picking back up. We're seeing individuals engaging some of these companies, right? And we just recently had a member land with a company called Shield AI. That's the second Blue Water member that was successful in pursuing that company. And ironically, again, a great use case. The existing individual who was with Shield AI played a big part in helping pull in this individual who was interested in pursuing Shield AI from the Blue Water Network, right? And it's working exactly as we envisioned it would, right? Individuals find success within a company. They're part of a team where they're growing and scaling. They know the talent and the leadership that they look for. Well, what better grouping to pitch right back into to find what it is they're looking for than where they came from, right? And they understand that. So we're excited to continue to kind of do these kind of things, but that's what we're seeing. There is some movement, and I think it's positive. It's moving back in a good direction. I think everybody's kind of like, before new administration, there was this big, oh my gosh, what's happening? And I think we're kind of over that a little bit. And they go, okay, yep, it's time to get back in. Let's build for the future. Let's start pursuing billable work, right? Let's compete for these contracts that are out there, and let's get forward and move
What
forward. So,
what about, about half, I don't know what the percentage is, maybe you do. Some people come and say, hey, you know what? I don't want to do anything DoD related when I'm
yeah,
getting out of the military. And obviously there's the Amazons and Facebooks and
yep,
or even going to private equity or some smaller business, maybe even buying a franchise or going out on their
sure.
own. Have you seen any changes in that environment?
In the corporate world, right? And again, I would have to pull up the dashboard because it changes quarter over quarter. But in general, if you'll give me just a little bit of latitude here, it's about 28% of our members pursue big defense. So those Boeing's, Northrop Grumman's, Lockheed Martin's, right?
Hmm.
And again, just for round numbers here, when you say blue water, and I keep referring to our membership, I understand what that means very, very clearly. We track our membership, but just for the listeners, we're still about 50% O6s and very senior O6s, right? Usually post major command. First off, is a service breakdown. We're 85% Navy, 15% other services. Of that grouping, we're still about 50% O6s. We're about 25% O5s. And so that's 75% of our makeup, Scott, if you think about this. We are right at about 8 or 9% O7 and above, if you can believe that. We have a number of flag officers that have pursued us all the way up to 3 stars, right? And that's an interesting demographic, right? When you start stepping in to try to mentor individuals like that. And then we have about an equal 8 or 9% O3, O4 that are hitting their first off ramp at that 10 or 12-year point, depending on what contract that individual may have come in on. And then we've got a very slim 4 to 5%, E9. That's a very, very small percentage, but those very, very senior enlisted senior leaders, on the Navy side anyway, they're coming from a Fleet Forces command or an Airland or an Air Forces or, some big aircraft carrier command, like those E9s that have large span of control, right? Our message seems to resonate with them, and a very small percentage of them seek us out, and we're excited to have them on board as members as well. But that's, so when I keep saying, hey, the Blue Water membership, that's what I'm referring to, right?
Yeah.
But of that grouping, yeah, about 27, 28%, right? They'll land in corporate America, right? Those jobs. I mean, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Meta, right? Those
A lot of health companies as well.
yeah, Centera, Bon Secours that are out there, right? Individuals will find successes with companies like that, right? And Navy Federal Credit Union, right? There's some other ViStar Credit Union. There's some other organizations that are out there that we kind of put into that bucket. And then so that's that's the corporate bucket. So you got about 27, 28% are big defense. I'm sorry, I was misspeaking. It's big defense. And then you've got on the government contracting side about 30%. But of the corporate bucket that I was referring to, right, that's the lion's share of this, right? This is easily 35 to 37% of our membership pursue that.
Okay.
And then we've got slivers of what we label as the other bucket. What's in the other bucket? We have some legal. We have some nonprofit, right? We do have the .edu crowd. We have individuals that find employment with, Cornell University, Harvard, right? These institutions open up roles that our members find appealing and they apply for, and not just necessarily straight stick educational, instructional professorships. For those people that are stepping into this world, right? Universities are businesses, right? They are absolutely businesses, right? That need help in full regards. And a lot of our members will find opportunities there that is appealing, and they'll pursue those. And so excited for that. And then we've got, and this is the one that surprises me when I think about it, about a 1 to 2, maybe 3% pursue GS roles. Now that's math in public. I've been throwing out a lot of percentages. I don't know if there's anybody listening adding it up, but trust me, it's about 100%.
Close enough.
Never do math in public.
We get the idea. So surprisingly small amount pursue GS roles.
And I'm not really sure why that is, right? And I think a lot of our senior leaders, 05s, 06s, see the GS roles from GS 13, 14, 15 positions, and then certainly SES positions. And for whatever reason, it's just not appealing, right?
Interesting.
They just don't pursue it, right? A few do, but not everybody.
I think that goes to say that the type of individual who's going to seek something like Blue Water out versus someone who's going to seek a GS role is typically is trying to do kind of more of a lateral transfer inside their existing organization.
There are a lot of GS positions. I know we just had a listener up. There's great fulfillment in GS roles. You can still make huge contributions. Your expertise is absolutely applicable. And if you're in a great command in a great role, that can just be incredibly rewarding. But again, I'm just regurgitating the data and the analytics from our Blue Water makeup, what we see. And we just don't see a large portion of them here pursuing those GS roles. Some, but not a lot.
So it sounds like, from this audience's perspective, it's still a ripe environment for employment. Hasn't the current economic environment hasn't changed the need for senior leaders. What about things like, are they asking different questions in interviews, or are you having any kind of new strange questions coming in from your members as they're going through the process that you hadn't seen in the past?
No, there are a few individuals that we have that we spend a fair amount of time working with. But I'll be honest with you, the ones that might be beyond that 129 days, the ones that are going to be into the 150, 160, maybe even 180 day, you get close to the national average where, if you look nationally at any number of surveys, just, your counterpart who is looking to make a huge career transition, it's about 6 months, right? 5.5 to 6 months. Our membership are usually inside of that. We think we play a big part into that, right? Our network, our clarity, our ability to do this. But the ones that Scott, that really drive that timeline longer, the conversation sounds like, Mike, there are a million things I think I could do, but I'm not sure what I want to do. Okay, that's a unique problem. And it takes a while for members to kind of work through that. And we have a methodology. And the short of it is, and probably no surprise here, the answer lies in networking. But it's how you network, right? Individuals that start the conversation, Mike, there's a million things I could do, but I have no idea what I want to do. My response to them, in short, is going to be get busy and start having some networking discussions. But not networking discussions to land a role, networking discussions where your line of questioning sounds something like this. Hey, Scott, I see that you're employed at US Vet Wealth. Tell me about your transition and how you pursued that company and why you landed with them. And then you'll answer. And then my next question might be, Scott, what do you enjoy most about what you do at US Vet Wealth? Hey, Scott, what do you enjoy least about US Vet Wealth? Hey, Scott, what does your future look like 5 years from today with US Vet Wealth? Right? These are leading questions. And that's the networking engagement I encourage our members early on to have. Don't be so worried about, man, I got to get a job at US Vet Wealth. No. I want to understand, Scott, you and I have a lot of common. We both wore the cloth of the nation. We both served. I want to understand why you ended up there, right? And how you found, and are you fulfilled? And do you like it? And what's the best part? And what's the worst part, right? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? So I can sit back and I can go, one of two things. I can go, you know what? I could see myself doing what Scott does. Like I could see that. Or I'm going to walk away and go, there's no way in the
Sounds
world
horrible.
I'm ever going to do that.
Right.
But the point is, that's your early on networking. And so for individuals that struggle with, man, I don't want to do, it's a career progression design. I want you to get out there. I want you to have those conversations with people, but your line of questioning doesn't have anything to do with landing a role there. Early on, it's just about, tell me about what you do,
Yeah. Being
right?
curious, being genuinely
Yeah,
curious. Like I just
absolutely.
don't know what I don't
Absolutely.
know. And so that, obviously the early you start, year out, 2 years out, you can start having those conversations, to just figure out what's out there. What about, because what I'm thinking is, if you've got extra time, that's also a time to start increasing skill sets,
Yeah,
things that might be useful in the corporate world that you either didn't need in the military world or weren't allowed to apply. And that can, things like social media, that can work for you individually in your networking,
sure.
but also a lot of companies like social media skills. And then obviously, that's morphed into essentially AI, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But it's a skill set now, and I'm curious, what are you seeing from your members in, not in using AI to find the job, more like, are they being asked yet to have AI skills? Kind of like there was a time where it was special if you knew how to do Microsoft Word and Excel
Yeah.
spreadsheets. Like that was something you put on your. Now that's all assumed, right? I know
Yeah.
how to use
Yeah.
email, but
Well, it's interesting question, and I would say it depends in what realm you're going into. In fact, the other side of this, we are hearing from members, some companies, where they're saying AI is not authorized anymore. Do not,
interesting.
you're not allowed to use this, right? In your government proposal writing, in your fact-based white papers provided for leadership within a company. They are saying AI is no, don't don't go there, right?
Not for writing purposes. Understood.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
for sharing of original thought and ideas, nope, that's company proprietary. That's why we brought you, Scott Tucker, here. We want to know what you think, not what AI thinks, right? And so I have heard that from a number of members,
Okay.
but in the talent acquisition, in the HR sessions, in certain fields, certainly like social media out there, AI is I don't want to say threatening to roles like that, but it is certainly giving rise to companies going, "Hey, I can do this now, and I don't need huge numbers of people." Right? It's an opportunity to start decreasing overhead. Right?
Yeah, what I've heard on it is, I mean, there is that aspect of it. You could totally replace somebody with AI, but maybe that isn't something you'd want to do anyways. But what I've been hearing is more, it's not that AI is going to replace your job; it's someone who knows how to use AI.
How to
And
use it? Yeah.
yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be
Yeah.
for writing,
Yeah.
because there's a
Well,
lot of ways to increase productivity. At the end of the day, what is technology? It increases, with the fact that we're doing the Zoom call, not driving across town to sit in
yeah.
an office to have a conversation. Like, it's just technology, it's just a calculator. So there might be ways. I mean, I think things like analyzing spreadsheets and stuff, there's some fascinating stuff you can do with that.
Yep.
Obviously, I'm now creating software. Like,
Yeah.
what if you go in somewhere and you know how to build out a tool or whatever. So just
Yeah.
curious if that's something they're asking in interviews yet. What's your experience? Because there is, free training now. Google's got a training, I think.
Mhm.
OpenAI.
LinkedIn does as well too. Yeah.
Right.
There's a
So,
lot of these platforms that
it
offer.
really comes down to learning how to prompt, and to ask it, not to do things for you, but to
Yeah.
have AI help you think through stuff or do stuff more
Well, and
efficiently.
and even in the Blue Water ecosystem, you probably remember when AI started coming on, we're a fairly agile company. I mean, Steve and I and the team, we turned very quickly. We said, man, we have got to get some insight out to our membership on this capability because this is just so fast moving. And I think early on, everything that we wrote, we put a little date next to it and we just said, hey, we recognize probably in 30 days this is going to
Yeah.
have moved well beyond this. But we're so dedicated to our membership, we just said, here's the early look. Here's how to use some of this technology. This is now out there. And as our members step into their career progression, we do still spend time with them, explaining to them about applicant tracking systems.
Mhm.
I recently saw an exchange on LinkedIn, and I try not to, you've seen them too, these feuds back and forth. Individual made mention of applicant tracking systems and screening resumes. And then somebody says, well, I'm a talent acquisition recruiter, and that's absolutely false. And, you know, I think regardless of that conversation, and I only posted one comment and it was professional, right? But I got in the middle of it. But here's the analytical facts. We have Blue Water members here within our membership who have submitted resumes, who have dealt with applicant tracking systems kicking their resume out because it was untargeted and the system, the applicant tracking system, assessed their application as not being compatible enough for the role and responsibility in which they were playing. That's 100% true. And I'll bring members to the table that will tell their story on this. In
Mhm.
fact, we share with our members that technology does exist. Now, I don't want anybody to live in fear of it because we have a means, to deal with that as you go forward. But I would not ever advise our members to say that technology is not out there and I'm never going to have to do battle with it. Because if you step into a career progression today and start applying to roles and responsibilities that are out there, you absolutely will be exposed to that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, just
Yeah.
my 2 cents on it.
Mike left a comment here about, I think this makes sense in the medical
Yeah,
field. I'm actually seeing this in the life insurance space where the life insurance companies, now I don't know exactly how they do their underwriting. Underwriting is a unique skill set.
sure.
It's actually pretty professional. They go through a lot of training. But if they don't have to get to the stage where they're looking at medical records and talking to people's doctors, they want to skip that, or sending out someone to do a, a medical exam at your house where they're drawing blood and all that. They don't want to have to do all that. So they've obviously using AI in the medical field, and you've been hearing about that from using for doctors, to help with diagnosis and stuff. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing,
Right.
but they're clearly going to be trying to make things more efficient. So depending on what type of corporation you're looking at, and what they allow, there's obviously a sea change happening in that field, and it's still early on. So what we think is amazing today might turn out to be all not
Yeah.
so good. I
Yeah.
think we're finding that with the writing. If they're already saying, you know what,
Sure.
don't use AI for writing, but it's going to be applied somewhere. So, keep it in mind is kind of my thought. I find it useful, but I'm a solo. If anybody asks, well, what's the day in the life at US Vet Wealth? Well, it's me and my computer. I'm by myself. I've been this way for you. So
No,
if anybody's curious about
I
being self-employed,
we do phone calls back and forth. We
no,
chat,
no,
right?
no, exactly. I'm just talking about the
Yeah.
idea of self-employment versus, working
Well,
for somebody else. That's a whole nother
so let,
animal.
let, let me just throw this out. You may have saw a posting before I forget. Hey, Michael, uh, please reach out on LinkedIn. I want to connect with you, Mike, and I want to add you to the repository connections that we have here. I love having a listener over in that part of the world, right? Because we do have Blue Water members over in Stuttgart. We do have Blue Water members in Naples. We do have Blue Water members that are in and around Rhoda, right? So we're starting to get some membership in and around those areas, and I would love to add you to that. But anyway, you may saw an article that I posted here, and it was the importance, as you can imagine, Scott, the importance of IC contributions. And many of our members, when we ask them, what do you want to do? And they go, oh, well, Mike, I was the CO of an aircraft carrier, or I was a Commodore, or I was an air wing commander, or a squadron commander, or I did all these things. And hey, Mike, I love leading large teams. And I just, I love being the share the vision, and the team goes and kicks in the door. And so they want to pursue that when they get into their transition. They want to go to Boeing and lead a large group of people. They want to go to Northrop Grumman or Amazon and, hey, where's my team of 50 people, right? And this is something that a lot of our flag officers struggle with as well too. They lead large groups of people. They have left behind their ability to be the actual doer. And it is a little bit of a frustration when they step back into this transition world where, yeah, companies are willing to compensate you and pay you for your contribution, but it's not going to be to walk through the door, sit there, and have somebody bring you a cup of coffee and you pontificate about what they need to be going and doing. So, all right, all 50 of you guys huddle up and get going and go forth and conquer. There are jobs out there. When I was at Amazon, I had probably close to 50 people on my team across the world between Beijing, China, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Costa Rica, and the US, right? We had a number of individuals that direct reports there, but not all jobs. And the article that I released was the respect and admiration that as an individual contributor, think army of one within a company who works hard to become that resource for the company. You with me? That single source of expertise, there is huge gratification in that. You are elevated to a position to where people, respect and admire your level of expertise and the benefit you bring to the company just from being an individual contributor. And it was a juxtapose, right? You comparing and contrasting. Do you really need to lead, 500 people in accomplishing a mission and the fulfillment you get from that, or step into a company and become the single source individual contributor expert, but be held in high regard by the company? The point of the article was, hey, there's fulfillment in much of this. And I think a lot of our membership give very little credit or thought or even consider the fulfillment that you can have from being an individual contributor. And there is great fulfillment in that, right? Yeah. And so we try to open their eyes to that. So
no, that's a great point.
Yeah, we're getting long in time, but before we go too much longer, Scott, what do you got coming on? Let's talk just in the next 90 days, right? What do you got going on in the future? Because we got some things we want to talk about.
I got my birthday next week.
Hey, you're going to be 27 again, right?
There you go. No, 46. But which is funny because I'm not the age where all my classmates are all 06s, so it's like, holy cow, we we've made it. But
we'll just wait till some of them are out there and they're general officers, right? There you go.
No, absolutely. No, the only thing I got coming up is these new launches that we have, various things going with our website, trying to get our education out there more, and looking for more beta testers. I still want to get back to doing part of this new military retirement blueprint website. We're gonna launch some sort of a networking meetup where we get on a Zoom call. People can come, have coffee, chat through ideas. Right. It'll probably be a lot of social media tactics based, but we can pretty much talk about anything. I was trying to launch that earlier in the year and then got sidetracked by the software development. But I think it only makes sense for us to have a way to interact with the audience who aren't watching live, of course, and again, not everybody can get your ear or mine all the time. So, And again, another way to do that networking, hear people's stories about
Yeah,
how they went through their own transition, and you can just glean little insights and tips. Oh, I never thought about. That's usually what I hear from those types of,
sure,
veteran meetup calls. So to have a
sure.
senior leader type call, to share just insights, and then guys can obviously connect and pass offline, just an easier way to do that versus always having to reach out one-on-one on LinkedIn, where it's a little uncomfortable,
Hmm.
trying to schedule a call. But if you're already on a group call,
It's better. Yeah,
so if you'd be interested in being a part of that, please let me know. Always hit me up on LinkedIn. You can hit up Mike up as well. We've got
yeah.
all of our links below to our various resources and our profiles. So if you're watching this on YouTube later on, connect with us on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's
You
where we spend
bet.
most of our time.
Hey, coming up
But
for us on the Blue Water side, you're probably tracking, Scott, right? We've got 30 July, right? We're back in the Booz Allen corporate office here in Norfolk, right? And we just love their support, man. They just opened their facilities to us, and we're very appreciative of that contribution and that support. So it really helps for us to have our message delivered in a corporate environment instead of like an on-base environment someplace. And so members will appreciate that. But the month of August, I will tell you, that's our first virtual cohort. We have not done those in the past. This is our first of, and Steve Weeman and I are really putting a lot of thought. That's going to be a good evolution, and that will be a full cohort instructed online that's taught over 4 1-week sessions throughout the month. And so we have video recorded content that people can watch our messages. Uh, Obviously, they can review our written content. And then at the end of each week, there's a 90-minute online session, right? And with the members that are going through it, with me and Steve and other members that'll be coming on board as well too. So we're excited to kind of turn the wheel on that. And we were prodded to do that by a lot of members saying, "Hey, Mike, we're around the world. I'll never be able to make an in-person cohort. I'm still interested in joining the Blue Water Network. How do I do it?" And so our heart kind of went out to them, and we just said, "Well, we still believe the in-person is the best, but can we create an experience that's equally as valuable or very close to the same value, and allow people to come on board and into the network, right? With the understanding of how to navigate this space." And we're going to give it a try. So we're excited to do that.
no, good.
And then September, as you know, hopefully you have time to do it, but we're headed back up to Annapolis, right? The Naval Academy Alumni Association. We get to instruct in their beautiful new facility up there, the Flugel Center, right? And it's just great. I love going up to Annapolis. And here's a fun fact for you. That was a Naval Academy event. So it was, October was filled, December was filled, all our end of year cohorts, but that bubble, right, for the Naval Academy was left open. And so I was dealing with Mike Lowe, who's the alumni affairs director up there for the Alumni Association. And so he said, "Hey, I'm ready to open it up. Let's take registration." I said, "Okay, are you ready? Because once I advertise it and open this up, right, Naval Academy senior leaders and alumni can register for it." Scott, we opened that, I want to say in May, towards the end of May, and in 4 days it filled up completely. Like it was just boom, right? I mean, it filled, and then it filled, and then not only did it fill, but we had individuals that still wanted to come, and we were already at capacity that are on a standby list, right? So hopefully I'll have a conversation with them, and maybe we can start doing 2 events up at the Naval Academy, right? A year, one in the spring, one in the fall, something like that. I'll have that conversation with them. But the last thing I want to say to our members, I recently posted out there, we're writing our 2026 schedule right now. We have been in 2025 and 2024. We've been to big organizations, NOC TSD down in Orlando, Commander Naval Air Forces in San Diego, Commander Navy Region Northwest in Kitsap, Washington. We've been to Pensacola. We've been to Pax River. We've been to Annapolis. We go to Washington, D.C. We're going to do some events next year with Shield AI and their corporate spaces, right? Mantech again. I'm hopeful that will happen. So we're starting to put together our 2026 schedule. If there are large organizations, I'm talking to the individuals out in Fallon, Nevada, or China Lake, or wherever it happens to be, that are so hungry to have Blue Water come to them, hey, reach out. That wheel turns. Other organizations have their training funding available, and your organization has training funding available too. If you want us to come to you and usher in an opportunity locally, reach out. We're happy to do that. But you have to do it early, because the slots fill up, right? I mean, our schedule is written up. And case in point, here we are, just not, right into July. We're full 6 months in advance, right? All the way through the end of the year. We don't have an open seat.
All right.
So thank you, sir. I love working with you, man. I look forward to Annapolis. It's going to be another good trip up there.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to drag the Army guy to Annapolis, but it makes me jealous. It's like,
well, hey,
man.
get me to West Point, man. Come on. People there. Let's do it. Yeah.
Well, Annapolis is a better town, and they got a newer facility. We got a great facility, the alumni place up there as well. But the Navy one is stupendous for what you're doing, hosting your event there. So, no, happy to join you there. And so people that are in Annapolis, whether or not you're a part of the Blue Water thing, I'll be hanging out while they're hosting that. If people want to chat about their LinkedIn strategy or social media or anything, survivor benefit plan, happy to set up a call while we're up there, or a chat. I'll be in person.
Yeah, we should start kind of increasing awareness on that, Scott. That'd be good. That'd make your day one, right before we get to day two, but day one busy and impactful as well. So let's do it. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, sir.
All right, dude. Well, enjoy, happy 4th of July, by the way.
Yeah. Happy 4th of July to everybody. Hey, be safe out there. Right. I mean, we all know from our time in uniform, right? I mean, a lot of service members get hurt over the 4th of July. So be careful.
Yeah. Be safe. Don't play with fireworks too much.
Yeah.
Keep your head down. Stay away from large crowds if you can. I don't know.
There you go. There's a little bit of that.
We live in interesting times.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
all right.
All right, man. God bless America.
Yes. God bless America. Thanks.
Go Army.
For all the listeners out there. And we look forward to continuing to exceed your needs. So thanks for being a part of it.
All right. Take care. Thanks, everyone.